Hey guys, some interesting video on Wild Rift. So they're back with our Jhin updated complete guide for patch 4.2 onwards, which of course includes new items such as the collector. So first up, of course, I'm going to refer you guys to the Jhin basic guide that I'm releasing at the same time as this video to look at his skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, etc. We're going to leave that in the cards up above. So this is a pretty interesting build because it involves going like half lethality and half crit, which I think has always been a good way to play Jhin, because lethality items have always been items that are like cheaper at the beginning of the game. However, they sort of fall off just because people start having more base armor and start building like more armor, for example. But because of the fact we have the collector that gives both armor pen and crit, you can still hit 100% crit with a lethality item. So the main reason we're going Youmuu's first instead of going for like full crit first is because Youmuu's is like the same price as the collector and it gives so much better stats. So let's compare what they do. Youmuu's gives you 50 AD, 15 ability haste, 15 armor penetration, as well as a passive that gives you additional movement speed, which when you attack gives you extra attack speed. Of course, for Jhin that converts to attack damage. Whereas the collector gives you less AD, which is 40, less armor pen, which is 10, and in my opinion, a much worser passive. Instead of getting like the bonus AD, you're just getting like execute at 5% health, which to a lot of people sounds good, but this passive really isn't very good. The collector isn't a very good item unless you're playing against very squishy teams. And you of course get that 25% crit rate, which is really what makes the collector a special item, because it gives both lethality and crit. So anyway, so because of that, we start off with Youmuu's Ghostblade, and with Youmuu's Ghostblade, of course, like I mentioned, we get all of the good stuff. Really strong starting item just because of the stat line. Like getting huge amounts of AD and armor pen at the beginning helps you to snowball the game. So with Jhin, his strength is really his early game, and if you can get a hit in the early game, you're gonna be doing amazing for the rest of the game. If you fall behind the early game, the game is pretty much over, in a sense that you're pretty much useless, because Jhin doesn't really scale very well. He sort of like falls off toward the later stages of the game. He's only really, really strong in like the earlier stages of the game, and like maybe in the mid game as well. And against Jhin, not against Jhin, with Jhin, I actually like to go for Boots of Fury, always, because getting that movement speed with Jhin in conjunction with his passive, which also gives movement speed, is really great, because Jhin needs the movement speed to kite around because he doesn't have any mobility spells. And then of course for the enchantment, you normally go for stasis. Sometimes you can go for QSS or even proto belt sometimes. So next step, you go for the collector. So now I mentioned that the collector isn't really a very good item in general, but on Jhin I like taking it because I generally only play Jhin into squishy teams, or at least teams that are not really that tanky. So because of that, collector is going to be a good item because of course it gives AD, crit, armor, pen, and of course it gives you that execute, which works really well against squishy targets, as you'll see in the gameplay later. Of course, now transitioning into a crit build, we go for IE to get the boost in our crit damage, as well as of course AD and crit. Then of course the LDR for the armor penetration. The passive interaction with Jhin still hasn't been fixed, so that's sad. And for your last item, you mainly have two options. Firstly, you can go for rapid fire cannon, which of course gives you that increased bonus attack range, and at full build, that one attack can like instantly do like 3/4 health of like a squishy target, or even like I think it might be possible to one shot a squishy target in one auto attack. I'm not really sure of that, but you guys will see later that in the late game, when I reach I think like up to LDR, I did like 70% of Kai'Sa's health in like one attack. And I'm not sure if with like rapid fire cannon and like the collector passive, is it possible to like one auto attack someone to death? I'm not sure. But the other option you have is, for some reason I don't have it here, the other option you have is going to be going for the Bloodthirster. So Bloodthirster of course gives you the physical vamp, which is also going to be really useful because you hit very hard, you deal a lot of damage, you're going to get back a lot of health. And yeah, so that is pretty much what Jhin is going to be building in terms of his items. In terms of his runes, for your keystone, I generally like going for Fleet Footwork. Fleet Footwork gives you a little bit of health, mana, and a little bit of movement speed when you proc the Fleet Footwork. However, another rune that's been relatively popular that has been popping up quite a lot lately is Electrocute. Electrocute obviously works very well on Jhin because Jhin can burst someone down really easily. Like you proc your root using your W, you walk up, auto attack Q, you instantly proc Electrocute, which is going to hurt enemies. But personally, I think Fleet Footwork is a little bit more consistent throughout the game, and I just prefer taking Fleet Footwork. So for your domination rune, I like taking Hunter Vampirism, so I have a little bit of lifesteal, but you also have other options. For example, weakness, because Jhin slows on his E and his W as well as his ultimate, so weakness is going to boost your damage by a lot. And also Giant Slayer if you're playing against a tanky team, but as I mentioned, I don't like playing Jhin against tanky teams, so I rarely ever take Giant Slayer. Next up, of course, for your resolve rune, generally you go for bone plating. You can of course also go for perseverance if you're into a heavy CC team that you need tenacity. And finally, I like to go for a Nimbus Cloak. You can also go for Sweet Tooth if you prefer. But yeah, Transcendence not really good on Jhin because his cooldowns are low enough and they're not really important enough to warrant going for that rune. For the spells, you want to go for Flash and you want to go for Exhaust, or you can trade in your Exhaust for going for a Ghost instead. Jhin works really well with Ghost. Of course, with the movement speed to run all over the place. Attack, run out, reload, go back in and attack, etc. So Ghost works really well on Jhin as well. But with all that out the way, let's jump into the gameplay. Alright, so as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will be sure to, of course, address them. So jumping straight into the Jhin gameplay, and the first thing first that I want to kind of point out is you generally only want to pick Jhin against a squishy team. So in this particular game, the only real tank on the enemy team is Malphite, and that is if he chooses to build tank. If he chooses to build like AP, he isn't even going to be really that tanky. So here we're up against like Varus, Kai'Sa, Master Yi, as well as Seraphine. All of them are pretty tanky. The biggest problem is probably going to be, actually to be honest, there are a lot of problems. This guy Master Yi is obviously going to be a problem if he tries to run us down. Kai'Sa can like sort of assassinate us. And like Seraphine, Varus have like a lot of chain CC that could be a huge problem for us, and that's basically why to play Jhin well, you sort of really have to get ahead, because if you're ahead and like Kai'Sa tries to go in and kill you, you can just kill her instead, that kind of thing. So yeah. So here, speaking of which, here we are going on to the Seraphine, and we get exhausted. Now here, I have my 4th shot. I'm waiting for my Q to come up. So I'm going to flash Q 4th shot. So flash Q 4th shot. Unfortunately, the Varus's bone plating comes back up. If that was not up, I would have gotten the kill on him. So here anyways, we end up getting the kill on Seraphine. Varus decides to get super greedy, flashes forward to try to get the kill on Nami, but Seraphine already had that, so Varus kind of trolled there, because actually it would have been a 1-for-1 trade between the supports, but Varus flashes forward and just donates his life over to me. And this gives me 2 kills, 1 minute into the game, and we are on the right track to, of course, becoming fed and just taking over the game as Jhin. So anyways, here we're gonna pick up our serrated dirk as well as a longsword, getting that early lethality in. We're gonna hurt a lot more against the Varus and the Seraphine. And when we complete the Yomus, it's going to be even worse for them. And Yomus also helps you to rotate the map really quickly, which is something that I didn't really mention that much. But here you can see that they are going in onto the Nami. Here, I can't really kill anyone, but with the bone plating, I can trade back and sort of deal damage to them. You can see that I managed to half health the Varus already. Kha'Zix is sort of in the area, and I'm not sure what he was expecting from us. I'm not really gonna be able to do anything here, so he's just gonna recall. Here I got the 4th shot primed again, and generally when you have the 4th shot, it's a good idea to use it on an enemy instead of a minion if you can, but if you can't, don't overextend to do it. So here you guys can see, like as I mentioned in the basics guide, you can put the Jhin traps in the river to sort of guard against ganks, because Master Yi is likely going to be proccing one of those. I can't see him walking directly down the middle of the river. That's pretty unlikely, but yeah. So here, nothing too much is happening now. We're obviously stronger than them at the moment, so we do want to fight aggressively and trade, etc. But at the same time, Varus and Seraphine are both level 5, and it's easy to just instantly get wombo combo by them and just die. So that's not what we want to see. Here Seraphine procs on my traps. I get the root on her, manages to force out her double cast W, which is better than nothing. I mean, I wasn't going to chase her down or anything like that anyways. So here I'm just gonna recall. Seraphine is still kind of stuck in the river, getting zoned off by us, so she's losing a little bit of XP, but she's made it back. So here I'm gonna back. I got Youmu's Ghost Blade, and here with the Youmu's passive proccing right here, I can run back to lane really quickly and hopefully, lose as little minions as possible. Kai'Sa in the meanwhile is on a killing spree, which is of course something pretty worrying. But yeah, so we managed to zoom back into the lane, and we managed to collect majority of the wave. Yeah, didn't miss out on too much minions. Meanwhile, Seraphine and Varus haven't back. Varus is still sitting on the long sword, by the way. So here I get the root onto Varus. Nami gets the chain CC. I managed to finish off the Varus, and here I'm going for the ulti to try to snipe down Seraphine. I managed to finally land the shot to get another double kill. So with that, Youmu's Ghost Blade completed, and with that, 15 armor penetration, we are hurting like a truck. And of course, this means that we can easily take both of them down. Especially because Varus at that point had only a long sword, and Seraphine as well didn't really have items. So now they've finally gone back to base, and they finally do have items now. But yeah, so here we actually see Master Yi. So we're actually rotating for Master Yi to try to actually catch him out. But our mid laner, our Vex, does a really poor job of cutting off his escape. She basically just ends up following him around, which is not how you trap someone in your jungle. Basically what you have to do is you have to be like us, which you have to think like which directions could he go, and you have to stand in between him and his freedom. And Vex is not doing that. Vex is just chasing behind him. She needs to be blocking off his escape, which basically means he can either only run towards our base and execute, or he can run towards us and give us the kill. So because Vex did a very poor job of that, Master Yi manages to actually get away when he should never have been able to do that, which is pretty unfortunate. But anyways, we're still very fed. We're 4-0 at this point. We have the Ghost Blade, and we have another additional serrated dirt. We're incredibly fed at this point, so we are of course on the dragon, ready to contest it. We also have a Kha'Zix, and the good thing about having a Kha'Zix is Kha'Zix bursts down objectives really quickly. For some reason, he's not interested in doing the dragon, and I'm gonna admit I was pretty annoyed at this point, because it was pretty obvious that the enemy team was not contesting. Seraphine was like in the middle lane, and we couldn't see Master Yi, so the best guess is that he's at the Herald, which is exactly what he's doing. And now that we haven't secured the dragon, what the enemy team can do is they can pop the Herald down mid, get the first tower in mid, get the tower plates, and put pressure in mid, so we have to rotate to mid to defend. Now Master Yi for some reason runs straight at us and just basically gives a free kill. Malphite out, hits nobody, and now we can just chase them down and secure the kills, which finally allows us to go ahead and take the dragon. But that should never really have been the case. So here Varus actually finds himself stuck in the choke point. I needed somebody to land a basic attack so I could root him with my W, but unfortunately that did not happen. So he does manage to actually escape, plopping down the control ward. We can destroy the enemy ward, a free dragon for us. And yeah, so here I'm going to head back over to the top to pick up the wave before recalling. So here we have the new ice map as well, which is pretty sweet. Using the W to secure the minions, and then we're going to head back to recall. Probably can pick up maybe another item, not too sure. Anyway, it looks like we need a little bit more for the... oh yeah, I remember what happened here. We needed just a little bit more to pick up the collector. So here what I was doing is I was sticking around to get the wave. Now here, Nami actually gets caught out by Master Yi, and I try to help her, but I end up being the one that's getting hit by Master Yi instead, and I'm outside of the tower. I managed to dodge Seraphine's spells, but Master Yi is inside me and manages to kill me under the tower. Now honestly, this was first Nami's mistake, then my mistake. I shouldn't have gone over to go over to help the Nami. I should have waited for her to come to the tower, and then we could, fight Master Yi together under the tower, instead of me walking out of the tower to try to handle the Master Yi. But that makes me vulnerable because I don't have a tower protecting me, so that was not good at all from me. So anyways, here Kha'Zix able to get the resets and able to pick up the kills. Now we have a 1v1 with Vex versus the Malphite. Malphite is building full tank, by the way, and Vex is getting destroyed by him, as you guys can see here. Yeah, Vex just gets destroyed by the tank Malphite. But Malphite does end up becoming out of position because of that, and me and Kha'Zix can clean up the job, root onto the Malphite. Kha'Zix isolated damage, and we are easily able to finish off the kill onto the enemy Malphite. So after this, we can just recall, or rather, we're not gonna recall. We're gonna clear out this wave first, and then we're gonna recall, and we can pick up the collector. So So here, we can see that we're already pretty ahead, and obviously when you're ahead, you kind of want to look for fights. But the issue is that you're a squishy, immobile champion. You can't just go running towards the enemies and pick a fight. If I run towards like a Malphite or Varus, I'm just gonna get instantly CC'd. I run towards a Master Yi, I'm gonna lose 1v1. Same goes for like Kai'Sa. So I really can't, despite being fed, I really can't just run at anybody and like just try to kill them just outright. I still need my team to sort of frontline for me, and I'm just in the backline dealing the damage. So I'm really just looking for team fights or like skirmishes. I'm not looking for like 1v1s and that sort of deal. But anyways, here looks like a possible fight might break out here. We're waiting. Kha'Zix jumps on in. I try to hit the root, but does not happen. Vex manages to go in. It ends up becoming a full-on team fight, and this is kind of just what I wanted. I'm in the backline just blasting people. I exhaust the Master Yi. Master Yi does get the reset, but we get the root off. Kha'Zix manages to pick up the double kill. And yeah, team fight overall goes our way. Vex did die, but we did get 3 kills in response, which is overall a very positive trade. Here I root down the Malphite, but nothing too much is going to happen to him. He's a full tanky Malphite. So here I'm going to try to blast the Malphite down with my ultimate. I hit one shot. I'm trying to hit another shot. I hit another shot, with the Collector, able to pick up the kill onto the Malphite. So here Kha'Zix goes in a little bit too deep. Barely escapes with his life. I thought he would have died there to the Kai'Sa Q, but he manages to escape using the Ice Dragon Rift, like the Frost, to actually run. Seraphine flashes over, does end up picking up the kill on Nami, but ends up dying for it. So overall 1-for-1 trade of supports, but Seraphine blew her flash and her ulti to do that, so it's a pretty good trade if you ask me. Nami still has flash, Nami still has ult. Dragon's coming up in 40 seconds, and Seraphine, kind of a troll play there, in my opinion. So we back again, we pick up our stasis, and stasis is important because if we get caught out by like a Malphite ultimate or like Master Yi, or even Kai'Sa for that matter, the stasis is the only thing that is going to be able to save us. So stasis is really important, so we go for that stasis, and now we're going to of course start building towards IE. So now Kha'Zix is on the opposite side of the map, and that being the case, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the red buff. No reason to wait for Kha'Zix to come all the way over here. And now we're going to rotate over to the dragon. Kha'Zix kind of trolls it and ends up running it down 1 versus 4, and making it really hard for us. Nami hits a 4-man wave though, and Vex goes in. Now here I'm trying to stay safe, but Master Yi ends up just diving toward us. I'm able to finish him off with the 4th shot. So we know both junglers did die, which is more or less a best case scenario for us. So here I see a 1 HP Varus. I'm going to flash forward, auto attack the Varus to pick up the kill, and then I'm going to move on to the next squishy target being the Seraphine. I pick up, and the technically it's now a double kill, but it was a triple kill if you count the first kill on the Master Yi. Kai'Sa decides to go in. She finds herself in trouble and goes to the opposite side. She unfortunately escapes my Triangle of Doom, and I'm gonna blast the Malphite because that's the only target left. So here Kha'Zix has respawned. I'm trying to focus the dragon. Kha'Zix is wasting time clearing the mid wave, but he's headed over to the dragon. Now with the Nami ult and with the Jhin traps, we're able to trap the Kai'Sa, finishing her off, and Malphite has to sort of run away. Kha'Zix has made it to the dragon, and we are able to secure the dragon relatively easily, so everything kind of goes according to plan. At this point, we're actually 11-1-3, so we're incredibly fed. We're doing very, very well. But something to note is that Kai'Sa is also doing very, very well. She's less than 1k gold behind us, and she's also really fed, so the game is kind of far from won at this point. Master Yi is also only close, a little bit behind, closely following the two of us, so this game is far from over. Kai'Sa and Master Yi on the enemy team are sort of issues, whereas my team, like Vex is not doing very well, Graves is not doing very well either, so this is still a very competitive game. You can see that the goal difference between the two teams is like just over 1k, so it's really, really close, and my team in fact is in a deficit versus the enemy team, so the game is far from over. It's still a very competitive game. We're gonna pick up the IE, and of course IE is gonna be a major power spike for Jhin, of course, because the crits are gonna hurt that much more. Now here I spot Master Yi and Kai'Sa going in on my team. I'm rotating to this fight because I know my team can survive for long enough for me to get there, and hopefully they would have used up their spells. Here I managed to root Kai'Sa. I thought that would kill Kai'Sa, but it did not. Now Kai'Sa is now dead. Master Yi gets exhausted by me. I'm running him down, and there we go. We finish him off with the Collector. Here I'm going to use my ulti to try to snipe down the Seraphine. I hit 1 shot, 2 shots, and she does go down. So overall, you know, something about this is rotating to that fight made a lot of sense because they're all rotating to kill a Graves. Graves is 0 and 6. He was 0 and 5 just now, but he's 0 and 6 now. He's 0 and 5 Graves. Why would you send your whole team to you know, kill him? And like Master Yi doesn't have ult because of that. Kaisa, I believe, didn't have her ult also because they used it trying to kill the Graves, which make no sense. And this allowed me and Kha'Zix, our two Fed members, to rotate down and kill them. So trading our, like, you know, weak members for their Fed members is a deal I take any day of the week, and that was not very intelligent by them. So yeah. Graves, you know, credit to Graves, he did manage to survive for long enough for us to be able to actually rotate and help him, because he does have Shield Bow and Bloodthirster, so he did survive for quite a little bit of time to allow us to go down and help him out. If he died instantly, you know, the enemy team would have just gotten a pick and gotten away with it. So because, you know, but because they picked, you know, they tried to pick a fight with a tanky target, yeah, that was not a very good idea by them. So anyways, now we're moving into like mid/late game as Jhin already. Master Yi once again get caught out. I hit the root from downtown, of course, because Kha'Zix did damage him, so he did have the mark. And we are able to find a free pick onto him. So now with the enemy jungle dead, now it's prime time to go for Baron. So Kaisa tries to walk in, Malphite manages to hit the ult on me. I'm able to flash away, get the root onto the Malphite, and I'm free firing onto whoever, you know, whoever's the closest target. I managed to kill Varus, managed to kill Malphite as well. Kha'Zix manages to kill Kaisa, and it's a clean ace, which basically means it's a free Baron. Now I noticed that in the new patch, after the changes to Baron, Baron is a lot easier to kill. Like look at how squishy the Baron is. Yeah, Baron's become really easy to kill, which is amazing. So now I have my LDR and I'm building toward my rapid fire cannon as my last item. And now here, 16, 1, and 7, 15k gold. Now I've pulled away from like Kaisa and Master Yi. I'm 3k gold ahead of both of them. And now I'm starting to really take over. So here you guys can see, I pretty much instantly clear the wave just with a Q. Of course, we're doing massive damage, and here Master Yi does end up dying again. Next dragon is sort of on the way, but that doesn't really matter. With the Baron buff, we can push down like all three lanes. You can see that I'm over here pushing down the bottom lane. We got the mid lane inhibitor. Kha'Zix is pushing the top lane. The enemy cannot deal with this much pressure. Kaisa goes in with the ulti, but look at that. Look at how much damage that did. That was why I was wondering if I could just one-shot someone when I'm at full build. That was insane amounts of damage, and she had her shield from her ultimate on top of it, and I nearly just one-shot her with one auto attack. That was absolutely insane, that damage from Jhin. So knowing I do so much damage, I'm just trying to four-shot somebody that's not the tower, but no one is gonna come close to me. Get the root onto the Varus, which allows the Kha'Zix to finish him off, and now, speaking of finish off, we're gonna finish off the game. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.